My friend, it's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. I'll find you. I'll find you. Just hold on and I'll find you. I'm hanging on by a thread, and all I'm clinging to is prayers. And every breath is like a battle. I feel like I ain't come prepared. And death's knocking on the front door. Pain's creeping through the back. Fears crawling through the windows. Waiting for them to attack. They say don't get bitter, get better. I'm working on switching them letters. But tell God I'ma need a whole lot of hope keeping it together. I'm smiling in everyone's face. I'm crying whenever they leave the room. They don't know the battle I face. They don't understand what I'm going through. The world trying to play with my soul. I'm just trying to find where to go. I'm trying to remember the way. I'm trying to get back to my home. But I can't do this on my own. That's why I'm just trusting in you. Cause I don't know where else to go. And I don't know what else to do. Just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. Just fight a little longer, my friend. It's all worth it in the end. But when you got nobody to turn to, just hold on and I'll find you. I'll find you. I'll find you. Just hold on and I'll find you. I'll find you. I'll find you. Just hold on and I'll find you. They say fear haunts and pain hates. I say pain strengthens and fear drives faith. And I don't know all of the outcomes. Don't know what happens tomorrow. But when that ocean of doubt comes, don't let me drown in my sorrow. And don't let me stay at the bottom. I feel like this hole is too deep to climb. I've been looking for a way out, but I'll settle for a peace of mind. Picking up the pieces of my life and hoping that I put together something right. Tell me all I got is all I need. Tell me you gon' help me stay and fight. The world trying to play with my soul. I'm just trying to find where to go. I'm trying to remember the way. I'm trying to get back to my home. But I can't do this on my own. That's why I'm just trusting in you. Cause I don't know where else to go. And I don't know what else to do.
Shabbat Shalom, Facebook fam. Pray each and every one of you are having a blessed day today. We thank each and every one of you for joining us today on this wonderful Sabbath. We give honor and glory to the Most High, B'Shem Yeshaya, while we walk. For those who are not familiar with the Hebrew, we give honor to the Most High in the name of Christ and the Holy Spirit. We salute each and every one of you for being with us today. It has definitely been a wonderful Sabbath today. We had an early start today with the brethren traveling down to Clovis, South Carolina today. And we've been at it early this morning, ever since about 6 o'clock this morning. But we're back. And because we had last week off due to the wedding, my brother's wedding, we said today, regardless of what time we get back, that we was going to come back today and continue the awakening of our people, the so-called black man, the so-called African-American man. Before I get started today, I want to give an honor and salute to the New Beginnings Baptist Church down in Clovis, South Carolina for opening up their doors today and hosting Liberation 2017, Daughters of the King. Oh boy, it was a great time in the Lord today. Wonderful Sabbath today, seeing people being delivered and set free. We actually had a soul get saved today. And so we was really excited about that. And all the women there, the message was powerful. We want to thank Minister Arlette Threats out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We want to thank Reverend Felicia Buchanan. I want to thank Psalmist Marcella Watkins and Shawnee, for being on the keyboard. We just thank each and every one of you being with us today, and Minister Alita Hamilton for being the mistress of the ceremony. And it was a powerful time. So we really thank and appreciate Bishop Samuel and Annie Thompson for opening their doors, and to the whole entire New Beginnings family, Clay and Nikki. We thank each and every one of you for being with us. So we're not going to waste time today. We do have a word for you today. This is week 15 of the awakening. And if this is your first week being with us, we say thank you for joining us today. So, but just be prepared today. There's some things that you may hear today maybe a little different than you ever heard before. And we got 14 weeks of lessons back. So if you have an opportunity, go check those weeks out and get caught up with us, and just be prepared to hear the truth here today. So as I said, we're not going to take long today, but we do have a word for you today. We do have a great Sabbath lesson today, which is entitled, Seeing the Victory in Your Loss. Seeing the victory in your loss. Now, what are we talking about today? You know, there's a lot of things that going on in this country where we can deal with it from an individual perspective, from a nation perspective, of us being a nation of Israel, for us just being in the communities, and as a whole, as the world as a whole. There's a lot of loss that we have to deal with. And many times, those losses come as a result of the enemy trying to rob us. Now, many of us has experienced the awakening and realized that we're not black and we're not African American. We realize that, and we're getting an understanding, and we're having to deal with some loss. You know, some people are walking away from us. Our jobs is acting funny now. The enemy, because we have detached ourselves from the system, is attacking us in our finances, and attacking us with our family and our friends and people, you know, coming against us and don't want to have anything to do with us anymore. So, you know, it's all type of loss that we're experiencing. In addition to that, just when you committed to Christ and you're doing the works of the Lord, there's going to be a loss that we have to give up as well. Hebrews 12:1 tells us, since we are so compassed with such a great cloud of witnesses, that we must lay aside every weight and every sin that is easily besetting us from running our race. So there's some loss that we have to deal with, and that's just a part of life. And so today we want to encourage you today to be able to see the victory in your loss, because there is a victory. There is a greater victory that's going to come as a result of you losing some of the things that you're losing out of your life. You know, I know it's real difficult. Some of you that's right now just experiencing an awakening, and for some of you that may be joining us today for the first time and hear this truth about who you really are, what your true heritage is. You know, you're going to get some laughs. People are going to ridicule you. You're going to deal with some things. But I want you to be able today, after today, to be able to see the victory in your loss. Because when you give up the things for God, they'll put it this way right here: losing for the Most High opens the door for you gaining from the Most High. Let me say that again. Losing for the Most High opens the door from you gaining from the Most High. And so today, I want you to go through this lesson today with us in that mindset, is that I'm going to give us some things for God in order for me to gain from Him. All right? So, go with me in your Bibles to Genesis, the 12th chapter. We're going to go ahead and get into the lesson today. And we promise not to keep you waiting your paces along today. Genesis, the 12th chapter. Very, very, very familiar set of scriptures. And we're going to do verses 1 through 4 there, as well as we're going to go to chapter 13, look at verse 14. Now, let me set the stage for this so you can understand what we're talking about. Abraham is our great patriarch. He's the father of us all. Our bloodline consists of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12 sons will be the nation of Israel. So Abraham is the father of faith. Without Abraham, there would be none of us here today. And so he started it. He set the platform. He set the stage. He set the example of what is necessary when the Most High tells you to give us some things. And I just want you to imagine yourself being Abraham. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of you are going to have to be Abraham for your family. Okay? It's going to start with you. It may start with you and your husband, or you and your wife, or it may just start you by yourself, you and your children. Whatever the case may be, some of you may be called to be the Abraham for your family, where that legacy of following the Most High is going to start with you. And so today we want to encourage you to see yourself in these scriptures, because it's very vital to understand and to know what we need to do and why we need to do it. So let's look at here, Genesis 12, start at verse 1 there.
Now the Lord has said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee.
Okay, now, if you go back in Genesis 11, you will see that there was no acknowledgement of the Most High with Abram prior to this chapter. There was no conversation. That was not like his father was walking with him. Now, some of his lineage, would it be Shem and Noah, they dealt with Most High. But in his father's house, with his brothers and with his uncles, all of them were pagans. Okay? They served multiple gods. They served fallen gods. They served idols. And this is why the Most High told him, he said, what? Read that verse for me again.
Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house.
So he had to get out of the country, he had to get out of his father's house, and he had to walk away from his family. Now imagine the Most High coming to you and saying that. Would you be willing to do that? Would you be willing to give up all those things for God? You know, we say it easily in our testimonies. We say it all the time when we're just going back and forth in conversations. Whatever God asks me to do, I'll do it. But are you really ready to do that? No more cookouts. No more holidays. No more get-togethers. No nothing. Like, done from this day forth. How many of you ready to do that? And I know this sounds like it's just hypothetical, but the truth of the matter is, for many of you, that day is on the horizon. And it's going to be on the horizon. And it's going to be up to you whether you make the right decision or not. Let's look at verse 2.
And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing.
Now, the Most High didn't ask him to do all this for no reason. And if he asks you to do these things, it's not going to be for no reason. But what I need you to understand is that many times these things are not going to happen initially. There's going to be a time frame in which these things are going to take place. And the question is, are you going to be in it for the long haul? Seeing your victory in your loss. If he stayed in his family house, he would have still been the great man that he was. He would have still had loved ones and people that loved and respected him. But verse 2, what did he say in verse 2?
And I will make thee a great
He
nation.
would have never been a great nation.
I will bless thee,
He would never have been blessed.
and I will make thy name great.
His name would have just been just a regular guy. It would have just been another guy living in the land of terror. And you have to ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes to bring about the success that the Most High has for you? You know, we say it all the time, and it's really sad that we see on social media, on television, that people are willing to humiliate themselves for 15 minutes of fame. Most High is not going to never ask you to humiliate yourself. But anything he asks you to do is going to be for a reason. And it's always going to be a benefit package laid up there in there for you. Look at verse 3.
And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
Yes, and we see that all happen today. Now, I want you to pay close attention to this first line in verse 4.
So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him.
Okay, now, go back and read verse 1 again.
And the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house.
Now, didn't he specifically say for him to leave his family? Now go back and read verse 4.
So Abram departed, and as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him.
And Lot went with him. And this is the problem. Whenever God tells us it's time to move, whenever he tells us it's time to move forward, we try to bring everybody with us. Now, there are going to be certain people that are very important and vital to your purpose. There are some people that are very intricate to your life. So the Most High is not going to ask you to leave your wife behind, leave your husband behind, or leave your child behind. Okay? But there's going to be some friends, and there's going to be some family members that when you're trying to go to the next level with the Most High, there's going to have to be a separation. Abram wasn't willing to do that initially. And you're going to see here that when we read this next verse, that he's not going to hear from the Most High until he changed this situation. Also, read that last part of the verse.
And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran.
75. If you a precept for you is Genesis 21 verse 5. By the time he actually gets the promise that was promised to him on this day, he was 100 years old. 25 years because he wanted to do things his way. He wanted to bring Lot. And if you go throughout this story, throughout the different chapters, there was different decisions that he made, kind of contradicting to what the Most High told him to do. And as a result of that, it took him 25 years to get what the Most High promised him. Now, my question for you today is, how many of you got 25 years that you can give up? What about 5 years? Some of you need the Most High to move right now. You don't have 5 weeks. So you better be careful when you're trying to take people along with you. You better be very careful, okay? You better be very careful when you're trying to include people that the Most High told you to exclude, okay? Now, let's go over to Genesis 13, and let's look at verse 14. Now, let me give you some background on this, so you can understand what this verse really means here. We see the Most High told him in Genesis 1, don't bring your family, but we see in Genesis 4, he brought his family. Now, he ended up being in the land. Land was coming with famine, so they had to go into Egypt. Went down to Egypt, told a lie, got his wife took him, but he got him back, and he left there rich. But he still hadn't heard from the Most High. And I know you're reading this like this is just chapters, but this is not just a couple of days going by. This is years. This is years. So from the time of the beginning of the chapter here to this verse 14 we're about to read, he didn't hear one verse from the Most High. You know why? Because he had somebody in his life that he isn't supposed to have. So my question to you today is, who's in your life that you don't supposed to have in your life? I hear it all the time. People telling me all the time, and I just wish I could hear God. I just wish God would speak to me and show me what I need to do. And I tell them all the time, look around in your life. Those are the things that's blocking your life, blocking you from being able to hear. Now look at Genesis 13, verse 14.
And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him.
After Lot was separated from him. And you know the reason why he separated? It's because their flocks were too big, because he told them that he would bless them. His flocks were so big that he had gave Lot some flocks, and it was too much sheep and goats and all this on the land in order to water and to have enough water for everybody. They were too blessed. It was causing a problem. Okay? So imagine if this problem wouldn't have came, Lot would have still been hanging around. And so you're looking in your life and you're saying, why are these situations happening? Why I keep running into bumps in the road? And you need to ask yourself, are you the reason why these things are happening? You see, the Most High allows storms in our lives to reveal to us who we are. But more importantly, it clears up beyond a shadow of a doubt who we are not. Okay? I'm going to say that again. The Most High will allow storms in our lives to reveal to us who we are. But more importantly, it will show you who you are not. Okay? Who you are not. And it was not until this situation came about that the Most High had to show Abram who he really was and who he wasn't. So once Lot went away, read that verse from again, verse 14.
And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art, northward and southward, and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou hast seen, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever.
Forever. Now, so, I'm asking you right now, today's lesson, if you're just joining us, is entitled, Seeing the Victory in Your Loss. Seeing the Victory in Your Loss.